Is the IWC Spitfire the best field watch? Is it even a field watch? Let's find out. And before we start, yes, I understand that this is technically speaking a pilot's watch, but I want to read you the definition of a field watch. A field watch is a watch with tool-like properties, in a relative simple military style with a focus on robustness and legibility. Now, if that doesn't describe this IWC Spitfire, I honestly don't know what does. So let's discuss field watches for a second. The entry-level field watch is probably the Hamilton Khaki Field, and it is a fantastic watch that I have owned and I subsequently broke. We'll discuss that in another video. But I think the upgrade to that, the daddy to the Hamilton Khaki Field, could be the IWC Spitfire. Let's cover these specs and let's discuss why I think this could be the perfect field watch. And by the way, my name is Harrison, as always, and this is the Chisholm Hunter channel. I really hope you enjoy these videos. If you do, hit that subscribe button. The model I have at the moment is the IW326802. Now this is a bronze variant, and I know that there are steel variants as well as a black dial and other variants of this model. However, this is what we had today, and also, to be honest, I think this is one of the best looking Spitfires. The case diameter of this Spitfire comes in at 39mm. Now for a field watch, it goes without saying, it's quite a basic known fact that you want your watch to be that little bit smaller and that little bit more dainty. And to be honest, this is partially just to prevent your watch from getting knocked or hit or damaged. So the fact that it is that little bit more dainty comparatively to the other pilot's watches, for example, the Big Pilot, makes it more of a field watch. Now, obviously for a field watch, you want it to sit that little bit closer to the wrist, and that's where the case depth comes in. So you don't want a field watch to be sitting too high up. And actually this watch comes in at around about 10.7mm in thickness according to our digital calipers. That is extremely thin, especially for an automatic watch. Now we'll move on to the movement a little bit later, but let's talk about the case material that I've actually chosen here. Now you do have the option between stainless steel and bronze. I've gone with bronze. However, if you are wanting this as a field watch and not a stylized kind of watch like I am, then I would go with stainless steel. It is that little bit harder than bronze, and also it doesn't warp as much in high temperatures. Now, I doubt you're going to put this watch in the microwave, but if you did, then steel's your one. But the reason I actually picked the bronze model is because personally I love the way that bronze patinas over time. And each patina is unique to the person wearing that watch, so the watch is unique to you. Now there's other factors that go into my decision, like I feel like I need a bronze watch in my collection. And also I like the way that the bronze plays with that leather strap. But that's all just my opinion. Moving away from the metal type, let's take a closer look at that crown, because this is where my kind of debate about this being a field watch instead of a pilot's watch really heats up and kicks off. Typically, when you look at pilots' watches, they have big, pronounced crowns. For example, the IWC Big Pilot Onion Crown, and that's kind of a staple to IWC. And the reason for this is because when pilots have their big, thick gloves on, they need to get that crown out with ease and quickly so that they can do all their stuff in the air as pilots do. This doesn't have a big onion crown. Actually, it has quite a short, stubby, field watch looking crown. Just because that crown is that little bit smaller, it still remains pretty usable. The teeth are quite pronounced, and it does have a little logo on the outside of that crown of IWC's logo. So it's a nice crown, and it's a screw down crown. The strap of this watch comes in calf skin leather. And to be honest, guys, I will never lie to you on this channel. Calfskin leather, in general, leather just isn't really for me. I just don't think it works with my aesthetic and my style, and I would much rather put a NATO strap on this. If I were to get this watch, if I were to have it as a field watch, I would get that NATO strap on it. With that said, the calfskin leather is great quality. It's incredible. It's just not my style. This model actually has convex sapphire crystal glass, and that has anti-reflective coating on either side, which obviously increases visibility on that watch. Now, I've heard a lot of positives and negatives about this. People say that because the anti-reflective coating is on the outside, it could scratch that little bit easier, and technically speaking, they are right. However, I've had an Omega Seamaster for how many years, Drew? 2 years? Oh, yeah, easy 2 years, and I've not got one scratch on that dial. As well as this watch is actually water resistant to 60 meters, and that's supported by that kind of screw down crown, which is more than you should ever need unless you're going, diving or anything like that. Now, when it comes to the weight of a field watch, ideally you want it to be a little bit lighter. You want it to kind of just blend into your wrist and you don't want to know it's actually there. Whereas a pilot's watch is obviously a lot heavier and bigger and chunkier because it has to be. So, the weight of this watch comes in, according to our digital scales, they might be 1 or 2 grams out, but normally it's pretty accurate. 69 grams. That's tiny. And now we get to the dial detail before moving on to that movement, and this is where, to me anyway, this watch it screams cool. It screams elegance, it screams clarity, and it screams field watch. It has a dark khaki green dial with white numerals around it, but at the 12 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, the 6 o'clock, and the 9 o'clock mark, you have kind of a tanned, luminescent feel, and that gives it more of a vintage feel, but also, thinking about that field watch, more of a camel kind of feel. The hands are coloured in gold, which is really, really prominent and looks that little bit more vintage against the dial. Everything is highly, highly readable, and there's also a date window at 3 o'clock. Now, you guys know me, normally I'm kind of a sucker for a 6 o'clock date window, but it still looks good, it still looks readable, and remember that this is a field watch. It is about the basics. It's about reading the time and doing it well. If you're looking for other smaller features that aren't as relevant to a field watch but are just pretty cool, on the 12 o'clock mark you have the arrow with the iconic IWC 2 dots just above it, and at the 6 o'clock mark you have the word Spitfire that is in red. Now that red kind of pops out and gives the dial a lot of life. And now we get to the movement of this watch, but not before we plug Chisholm Hunter because it is a Chisholm Hunter video. Remember that Chisholm Hunter stock, IWC. When we flip this watch round, we can see the closed case back, and it has a Spitfire plane on the back. To me, though, it should have a field or something to represent field watches. Below the case back is the caliber 32110 movement, and this is an IWC manufactured movement. It's of course automatic or self-winding, and it has 72 hours of power. It beats at a frequency of 28,800 VPH, it has 164 components and 21 joules. There's 2 things that we haven't covered just yet, and then we'll get onto the conclusion, and one of them is the lume. So let's take a look at that. As you can see, the lume on this watch, in typical IWC fashion, is pretty damn sexy. It's pretty damn bright, and to be honest, I didn't even shine the flashlight on it for that long, and it's pretty strong. This bronze model with this leather strap comes in at £5,800, whereas the stainless steel version with the NATO strap comes in at £5,200. Now, to be honest, if you are looking for that perfect field watch, I would say the NATO strap's probably where you'd put your money. However, because I'm biased, because I like bronze, I do like this model. Anyway, guys, I just thought I'd quickly hop on and talk to you about this field watch. Field watches are kind of a loose term. I feel like you could describe a lot of watches as field watches that technically aren't. Anyway, see you soon.